ship. Get ready. It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 154 of the Frame Skip podcast. I am Andie Eller, and I'm joined by my two best friends who are holding their mouths as we start this show. God knows why. God knows why. Nobody listening would know why. Certainly not. George from Shortbox Summary.
Shortbox Summary here. Guess what? There
Is
will
that
be
still
a new
how I introduce
episode.
you?
Yeah, there will be a new episode this year. I promise. Yeah.
Okay.
I've been talking about banking. I'm not going to talk about the banks anymore. No one cares about big banks. It's only an election year. It's fine. Don't have to talk about banks. I got stuff going on. I got coals in the fire, irons in the coal fire. It's fine. Everything's good.
So I got a comment question I want to ask you, but I want to introduce our other compadre here, Coach
Please.
Kyle Newman. How's it going, Coach? How are you?
Good.
He's nodding.
Good.
He's saying good.
Yes.
You
Go to
are-
his. I want to hear what the question is.
You
Okay.
are dressed like an assistant defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys.
An assistant to the assistant.
Oh my God. So, Coach, I don't think you've really been following. I don't know if either of you have, but George, I'm just curious. Have you been watching or keeping up with the MCU, and have you been watching the Agatha show?
I have watched the first 3 episodes of Agatha, and then
Okay.
I fell behind. I've fallen behind on all my TV, unfortunately. I've been not doing like the best emotionally, just because like work and family stuff, everything's sort of conflagrating all at once. So I've been like watching a lot of comfort shows recently. So I'm behind on Penguin and I'm behind on Agatha, and those are my two biggest like, how could you do this? The first 3 episodes of Agatha, goddamn, what a show! I actually really like it.
It's good. It's good.
Really good.
So I won't spoil anything for you, but at some point we'll have to talk once you're caught up, because I think you're going to like where it goes. But
Can we actually start doing that? Like, we need to find the things that the other people
Yes.
are interested in, and then just do like a one-off episode, like do an Agatha all along spoiler cast, or like do a Penguin spoiler cast, do something like that.
Agreed.
The way this show is basically eventually going to become a Jedi Survivor spoiler cast.
basically, yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't disagree. I think it would be fun to do like once the season wraps to kind of go through and talk about it. If we had more time, I would say episode by episode, but I know we don't. So,
Sorry, it's opening night of the NBA. The Celtics are playing the Knicks, and the Celtics are up 15 on the Knicks right now, and there's a minute and a half left in the first quarter, and I feel fucking good.
very good. I'm glad.
It's nice seeing one Boston sports team give a shit. It's really cool. It's nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
George, what have you been up to? It's been a little while. I think it's been, probably like another month again, I think, since we recorded last. We've been kind of intermittent because of scheduling issues on my end. So
We have. I've actually been thinking about this. The only games I've been playing still, I play Helldivers once a week with my buddies from San Francisco. We still line that shit up. We play it 5 hours a night, sometimes multiple nights in a week.
Nice.
And it's the way, like, you just look for a reason to talk to your friends. So, like, we do it just to catch up. And, like, that game is so stable now. Like, we haven't been dropped from a game, so knock on wood. So it doesn't happen later tonight when we play after this podcast.
Is that wood?
That was wood. Yeah, I knocked on wood. I'm on a wooden desk.
is it cedar or?
I think it's
oak?
bird's eye maple. Yeah, it's bird's eye maple. I'm a fancy bitch when it comes to my desks.
Douglas fir.
Christmas tree.
He just knocked down a Christmas tree.
Yeah, sure did. Tis the season. The game is like finally like stable, and it seems like the game that was promised, but like the audience is definitely not there. Like when we play 3 people, we'll throw out like an SOS for a rando to jump in, and like sometimes it happens immediately. Sometimes we go 4 games in a row without someone jumping in. So like seems like a lot of people have largely moved on, even though they just finished their big patch effort to try to like make the game a better balance of fun and difficulty. They added a new difficulty, which I think gives them some coverage to make the guns more fun and more effective. And like it definitely feels that way. They also for the first time ever, I think, have like nerfed the bots a little bit. So for those of you who don't know, there's two main enemy types. They've been talking about a third since launch in February. You either fight bugs, and so it feels like a Starship Troopers game, or you fight bots, so like it really feels like a Terminator game. And the bots were just like the actual worst enemies to fight. Like we would do it when that was like the major order, just to secure some in-game currency to unlock stuff in our battle passes, basically. And they finally like calmed those dudes down, so it's like slowly becoming more fun to fight bots, and that really feels like it's opened the game up quite a bit, just because all of a sudden there's like half of the game we are starting to enjoy. But that has been my main gaming focus, except for personally, how soon is it allowed to talk about Astrobot being a game of the generation? Like the way we talk about Mario
7
Galaxy
years.
being a definitive game of
years.
its era. Astrobot, I think, is hitting every single benchmark for me. I'm not done yet. I'm on the 5th galaxy of 6, I think, besides like the Lost Galaxies, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like 60% through the game, 70% through the game. Like, at what point is it okay to say this is one of the best games of the last 10, 15 years?
It's a good question. I mean, I think it is hard to say, because in that moment as you're playing it, and I definitely felt this, I think I even said it on the podcast last time we recorded, I think it's my favorite platformer of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's like, do you get caught up in that hype and like the emotion of playing it in that moment? Or do you need to wait like a year to come back and say like, oh, no, this is actually like a damn near perfect game? I don't know. I don't know what the answer
When
to
does
that
the
is.
last generation end and this one start?
That's a great question, because like there are a lot of like multi-console releases. I guess, I mean, honestly, it feels like this generation started with like Final Fantasy 16 and Starfield, right? Because like those both came out the same summer. Like that's when it felt like for the first time ever there was a game that you could only play on the new shit instead of the old dusty butt box that you were playing. So that felt like the flag that was planted in the ground. But like, man, this game, I'm so close to finishing it. I immediately want to play Mario Galaxy just to compare it, because I'm a 64 kid. I think 64 is probably like the most important video game I've ever played. I think the first Mario Galaxy is probably the best video game I've ever played. Like I beat that game in one night. Like I just could not put it down. I got a Wii for Christmas 2010. So fuck, like 4 years after it came out, 5 years after it came out, and I was just like, oh, let me just like check out the first level, and then like I immediately like went into the kitchen, like made coffee, and I was like, I'm not going to sleep tonight. I need to play everything. And this game, it's like the responsible angels of my better nature on my shoulder being like, go the fuck to bed. You have a presentation tomorrow. You have adult things to do. Be a grown-up. And like that's literally like that, and like me missing my dogs is the only reason I put my controller down and go to bed. Otherwise, like I want to like mainline this game as irresponsibly as possible. It is so special. Everything about it is so tight. Everything about it is so charming. And the way it's making me nostalgic for shit I never cared about. When you like unlock a bot that's like a reference to some, like, I don't care about the original Resident Evil 2. I hate spookies. I hate tank controls. I didn't have an original PlayStation, but like when I unlocked like Leon from that game, I'm like, oh my God. Like, yes, that's right. Like we're preserving history here. Like that's what this is. That's what this game is really about. It's about honoring the legacy of this long-standing console. And like, no, it's basically like a advertisement for how sick the PlayStation brand is, and like almost none of those games are available on even PlayStation Plus. Like they don't give a shit about the games. Like why should I give a shit? But like I do give a shit, because the way they set it up is so incredibly special. I'm floored. That game's immaculate.
Man, it's phenomenal. I want to go back because they're starting. I think they started last week, adding in like one speed run level every week. I think it's for the next 5 or 6 weeks. They're adding in like 6 new levels and 10 new bots, I think. So I want to start going through and doing those and doing the speed running, because I did some of that in the Astro Playroom, like the pack-in version with PS5, which was really fun. Like not worrying about the enemies and just trying to get to the end as fast as possible. It's really enjoyable. And they have like the leaderboards and stuff, so you can compare with other people on your friends list, which is nice. But yeah, man, I that game is something. Like it's definitely my game of the year right now. I don't know what could even beat it at this point.
How long did it take you to platinum?
Not that long. I mean, it was maybe 15 hours.
Some of the challenge
the ending
some of the challenge levels are like you want to break your controller, but like I've never started a challenge level and not beat it within 20 minutes. You know, like it took me 30 tries, but like you get to it really fast. Like the loading on that is maybe the most impressive thing about the game. When you die, it just immediately boots you right back to where you need to be.
Is it Crash Bandicoot difficulty?
I wouldn't say it's that hard, personally.
No.
I would say it's easier than the hardest levels in Crash.
There are challenge levels where you basically need to get from the beginning to the end to rescue a single bot, but if you die at any point, it sends you back to the beginning. But those levels are significantly shorter than any of the main levels. So it's like, it'll be like if you do everything perfectly, it'll take you 45 seconds to complete. But the fact that it is difficult and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I didn't know this ground was breakable. Like, I didn't know this was glass, and you die the first time.
Yeah.
It'll send you back 20 seconds to the beginning, and then you'll have to start again. But honestly, I feel like it's really close to like Portal, where like I feel like a goddamn genius every time I figure out one of those challenge levels. Like it's really rewarding, and all of a sudden I do understand Souls games, and I'm better than anyone who doesn't play Astrobot. I have to say.
They're in the moment, I would say, and Coach, they're like side levels. So they're not part of like the main worlds. It's kind of like you unlock these side areas that you go, and you don't have to beat those levels to beat the game. But if you want the platinum, of course you have to. But they're frustrating in the moment, but the thing is they're learnable. Like you just keep repeating them, and you can definitely learn how to do it with practice, except one mission or one level. And have you done the one, George, with the lava and the rubber duck?
I have not done that one yet.
Well, you're gonna have to tell me when you get to that one, because Andie and I had the same issue, because she also went through and played through the whole game separately, and we both had the same issue on this level. It wasn't even the final level in the game, which a lot of people had issues with. Neither of us did. But there's one with the freaking rubber duck and the lava, and there's one enemy in it. I won't spoil it for you, George, but there's one enemy in it that's almost unfair. Like it is not learnable. It's just randomized to the point where you just have to hope you get through it. And I'm not a fan of that.
This isn't a boss.
No.
Okay.
It's just the way the level's designed. Basically, there's an enemy you have to get past, and it's damn near impossible to get past it unless you're lucky. So,
Coach, the hardest part of the game so far for me is the challenge levels, but like it really feels like the 3D platforming equivalent of like a oh my god, what's the motorcycle game that's 2D? I'm having the biggest brain fart right now.
Oh, Excite Bike?
No,
are you talking about Trials?
Trials. Oh yes. My god, I'm such an idiot. Yeah. It's basically the 3D platform equivalent of Trials HD, where it is like, okay, cool, that barrel is on fire and comes out of nowhere. Got to remember that for the next time I do it. Like that's the hardest part of the game for me so far. Austin's platted it. He can.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Better.
I'd agree. So wonderful game though. Wonderful.
Also, game. Celtics up 19 with 8 minutes and 40 seconds to go in the second quarter.
That's awesome.
Oh, look at this new look Knicks. Oh, they got Cat. Oh, they got Karl Anthony Towns. Look out, everybody. Big meows here. Eat shit, New York. Eat my shit.
George, you said you've been reading a lot of comics, too. Anything on that front you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've been trying to catch up on everything. I'm just really excited by DC right now. They have this new initiative going on called All In, where every book that comes out between October and November is basically like a fresh jumping on point for people. We're like, hey, arcs just ended. We're starting new books right now. This is where you can jump in. So I've picked up every book with the All In image on it. And like, I got to be honest, I'm kind of a bad comic fan. They brought back the old DC Bullet logo, where it's like the blue circle with like the DC in the middle and then like the stars on it. And that's always been called like the Bullet logo. And I don't know if that's like a permanent fixture or if that's just like a promotional thing for this event called All In. but I just read all of Absolute Power, and that is one of my favorite events from the Big Two in the past couple years, maybe 10 years. Like it was just really good stuff. And it's an exciting time. I'm not loving some of the miniseries, mostly by this one person whose name I'm not going to drop because I don't want it to seem like I'm dunking on them. Not that I have like a huge platform here. I just don't like it in public, so I'm not. Sparks book, you can figure out who it is. But hot damn, am I just enjoying comic books right now? Birds of Prey is fantastic from DC. Immortal Thor is finally picking up steam over at Marvel. Incredible Hulk is like one of the best horror stories. Daredevil is this like really fun mafia story going on right now that's also super religious, with Daredevil fighting like the incarnated versions of the original sins, and it's good stuff. Comic books are great right now. Absolute Power is incredible. I am reading my way through the big Marvel summer event, which is called Blood Hunt, which is like a vampire storybook, which I'm excited to really dip into. The X-Men books all just relaunched. I'm so far behind on those, but the art, I've flipped through every issue at the very least. I haven't read them. The art's incredible, and it's just like, I can't believe this is like the base level standard for comic books at this point, where it's just like, oh, this random X book just looks this fucking good. I don't know how it reads, but like I know it looks incredible. So it's just a great time to be a comic book fan.
Nice.
Good stuff. Good stuff coming out from everywhere.
It's good to hear on a DC front, though, because I know, I think you brought up before that you were kind of getting into DC like a few episodes ago, but I know like a lot of people have kind of held the opinion, and I'm kind of outside the comic book realm. I don't really read as actively as you do, but I know a lot of people have had the opinion that like DC kind of fell off in like the past few years. And so, but I've heard a lot of people with the same sentiment that you have, which is that they're doing quite well right now. So
they did. I haven't loved their most recent events, to be honest. Like I think Dark Crisis is like one of the worst big superhero books I've ever fucking read, frankly. Like it was just like a pointless book, but like it set stuff up in an interesting way, and it allowed other books to sort of pick up the baton and become pretty important. And there's new creative teams. Like basically the is that basically one, like she was able to absorb everyone's powers from the superhero community. She had a campaign of misinformation that was labeling superheroes as shitty people who had like turned on the general public, and then she used these Amazo robots, which is like the robot that can absorb superheroes' powers, to absorb everyone's powers, and she won until she didn't at the end of the story. Spoilers, I guess. Who didn't see that coming? What they're doing with that is setting it up so like superheroes' powers are now different, and some people didn't get their powers back, some people got new powers, some people did this. And it's just like, oh, cool. Like, this is like what's going on with Aquaman. Oh, there's a new Aquaman book coming out in January. Oh, there's a new Batgirl book coming out in November. And it just feels like a really exciting time to be getting into DC. And that's part of the reason there hasn't been like a short box summary episode in a minute, is just because I've been trying to catch up on modern books, and there's so fucking many. And I gotta be honest, man, I've just been enjoying DC a lot more the past 6 months than I have Marvel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, having a great time.
So, Coach, I want to, obviously we've already hit on it, and it's in the title of this episode, but we're certainly going to talk about Jedi Survivor, because you and I both played all the way through it since the last episode. But anything else that you've been playing before we get into that, or reading, or anything on that note that you want to talk about aside from Jedi Survivor?
All right. So after Jedi Survivor, I wanted to get into something that wasn't going to take a lot of time, just to be able to get in and get out. Right. It wasn't going to take my heart away like Jedi Survivor did. Right. So I started playing Doom 1 again. You know, the newest remaster, just playing, going down to hell, and just playing boomer shooters again. Right?
Yeah, kicking down doors, throwing frags, you know the drill. Yeah.
Right. And then and so reading wise, I got this in the mail yesterday. This is the new Mace Windu book that came in, and it takes place right after Qui-Gon's death.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it picks up right after Qui-Gon's death. and supposedly, like, I haven't got to the point, but you read the insert, right? So Qui-Gon left a message for Mace Windu that if he were ever to pass, there's this group of people that he needs to go visit. So something bad is happening over there. That and so that's kind of where he's at right now.
Is that a period I don't really know. Is that a period that's ever really explored, that time frame between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones?
Well,
I guess I've never really thought about the time skip there.
Well, you had the one with Obi-Wan and Anakin, Brotherhood.
Okay.
But I think that was either, I think that was right before Clone Wars or right after. So, but between 1 and 2, there's not that much.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess I never, until you said that about right after Qui-Gon died, I guess I just never really thought about the fact that, I mean, what is the time skip there? It's like at least 5 years, right?
Wait, no.
Between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones?
I'd say like 10.
Yeah.
Remember, like 10 or 12, because all of a sudden Anakin can fuck in episode 2, and he was just a little baby boy in the first one, you know.
Yeah, balls haven't been dropped yet.
True, that's true.
Are you an angel? Yeah, no.
So awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Coach, heads up. There is a new Marvel comic coming out called Star Wars Jedi Knights. Really? And it takes place when Qui-Gon is still alive. Like, it takes place before episode 1. And it's just like, I think their goal was like, we're going to shove the most fucking lightsabers you've ever seen into a comic book. And that seems to be the premise. I think it's coming out in December or January, so be on the lookout for that. Also, there's like, I think, a weekly comic book coming out called Star Wars Battle of Jakku Insurgency Rising, I think is like the full title of the book.
Jeez.
But it's taking place immediately after the Battle of Endor, and it's just focusing on the Imperial warlords and like how they're trying to concentrate power after the Emperor has passed at the battle. And it's first issue incredible, second issue it's fine. And there's
you've already read it?
I've read the first 2 issues. I think the third comes out this week. I think it comes out tomorrow.
What's the name of it?
Star Wars Battle of Jakku : Insurgency, I think is the name of the book. And so, Coach, I know you're abroad right now. You can buy them digitally on Amazon if you want to read them, or books if you're on an Apple device. I might wait for the trade on that one. There is an Ewok book that just started last week. That's actually pretty good. And it takes place like immediately after Return of the Jedi on Endor.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, as for me, before we get into Jedi Survivor, couple things I guess I'll just mention. Really, the main thing I wanted to talk about is today, at the time of us streaming here, the final expansion came out for Alan Wake 2, The Lake House. And so there are 2 expansions aside from, of course, the main game, and this is the second one. Which pretty good turnaround for them because the game only came out about a year ago, so they've released the full game and 2 expansions in a year, which is great. But it came out today, and I got off work and ran home and like immediately played through it because I wasn't expecting something super long since it's a story-based game. It took me about 3 hours and loved it, and it just kind of continues setting up this Remedy universe. So I won't spoil it, but the second expansion essentially continues to fill out what happened in Alan Wake 2 and some of the unanswered questions, but simultaneously starts to set up Control 2. And so you start to really see how these worlds are going to connect, and it was really well done. They really played into the horror element a lot. It really felt like a Resident Evil 2 almost in a way. Like there were these new enemies that they've introduced, and super dark like hallway through, and great sound design. So I enjoyed it.
Did it feel different from the main game in a good way? And like what the enjoyable DLCs I've played right? Where it's like, let's take everything you know and just fucking flip it on its head. Is it that kind of DLC, or is it just thickening the plot, deepening the plot for where the Alan Wake universe is going?
It's more in that realm, but it is so the first DLC set. It's kind of hard to explain if you haven't played through the game and aren't familiar with the world. But the first DLC set was like a group of what if scenarios. So it was just kind of like a silly, like there was one where you play as the girl that works at the diner who is obsessed with Alan Wake. Like that's her whole character. Alan Wake's a fictional writer in this universe, and she's like obsessed with him and obsessed with his books. And she's convinced that she's his like lover. And so she's going around with a shotgun, like blowing people away, trying to rescue him. But she's just like this innocent girl that works at a diner. And so that DLC set was more in that vein where things were like really silly. And one of them, actually, they did all this weird connecting stuff with Quantum Break that was supposed to be like a half reference, because they can't even technically refer to Quantum Break since it's still owned by Microsoft. But this one definitely felt more like the base game. But it's hyper focused on the horror element of the base game. The original game's, I would say, scary a little bit, but it's not like I wouldn't compare it to like Resident Evil 2 or Silent Hill scary.
Would you call it a horror game?
I would say it's more of like a thriller. I mean, it's definitely a survival horror because you are managing items, but like atmosphere wise, I'd say it's more thrilling than it is like scary, in my opinion, at least. It's more akin to like Resident Evil 4.
Is Last of Us a horror game or a thriller game?
I would say that's a good question. I don't know.
There's no wrong answer. I don't play these games. I'm just curious because like I've never actually heard someone refer to a game as a thriller game before.
I would probably put it in the same vein as Alan Wake, to be honest. I don't know. I guess people have different viewpoints on like what is horror and what isn't. I mean, I think you could all classify it as horror anyway, but I don't know. I think of horror as Dead Space and Resident Evil and Silent Hill. And Alan Wake has some of that still. I mean, there are definitely scary moments, but to me, it's not the same as like a Resident Evil. You never know when Mr. X could be around the corner, literally waiting to just obliterate you at any time. Like it's not right. It's really not on that level, but it's close. Like it's still, I'm sure for some people, a pretty scary game. But point aside, this DLC really goes into that. Like they introduce these, what I would call scary enemies and really tense situations where you really have to manage your items and your ammo and stuff. So it was good. I enjoyed it.
We talked about this. Have you gone back and played Quantum Break yet?
So I tried it. I was going through it over the summer on Series X, but it runs really bad. And I had a really hard time playing it because the frame rate really chugs even on Series X. They had some issues with like the particle effects and stuff. So I think I'm going to play through it on PC. I think that's what I'm going to do. But that's the only one I haven't played. I've played all their other games except for Quantum Break.
And is it all in the same world?
So Quantum Break technically is not, but they've hinted that they could be if they acquire the rights to Quantum Break.
Yeah, because Microsoft owns Quantum Break, right?
Yeah.
But Remedy owns Alan Wake.
Yeah. So it's
was it
possible.
The main guy? Was it the main guy, Jimmy Olsen from Smallville?
Sean Ashmore. We know him better as Iceman from X-Men.
I was gonna say that's who I knew him as. But yes. Yeah. And so this is what I'm saying, like they could connect them if they do acquire the rights. He's in Alan Wake 2.
He's in Smallville. He's not Jimmy Olsen. He's the guy who like he's thinking about killing himself at a dam on a field trip for Smallville, and then Clark tries to save him, and then lightning strikes, and then like he gets Clark's powers.
What?
And then he becomes like the evil version of Clark. And Clark is like happy because he gets to be a normal kid, but then he sees Sean Ashmore is just like being a fucking dillhole with his with his Kryptonian powers. And then there's like a confrontation, and then thank God lightning strikes the dam again, and he's able to get his powers back. But that's who Shawn Ashmore plays. I think it's season 1 of Smallville. Maybe
So like the first
2.
4 or 5 seasons were amazing, like such good writing. And then once Rosenbaum left, because he was
Lex.
he was Lex. Once he left, then it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
I only watched the first 4 seasons. I've been trying to go through and watch it again. I honestly, like, this is gonna sound weird. I just miss like high school TV shows, just because, like, especially from that era. Like the OC is one of my favorite. The OC, One Tree Hill, Friday Night Lights, like everything from that era was like ridiculous, but not ridiculous in a depressing way, the way Euphoria is. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, parents are gone, let's have like a rager with 150 people. It's like, okay, that's like understandable. And then you watch Euphoria and it's just like, let's mix our ketamine with our Ritalin with our meth. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't relate to this, bro. Like, this isn't my shit, you know? Like, yeah, having people over, too many people, like, that's a problem I can understand. I'm not like a fucking drug alchemist. I don't want to do that. So yeah, that era of high school TV shows undefeated, especially considering like how religious they all were, but how horny they all were. Great stuff. Incredible stuff, especially for a young 15-year-old George.
Amazing. Yeah.
Also, the Celtics are up 72-50 with 1:17 left in the second.
Oh wow, they're blowing them out.
Fucking repeat, baby.
The only other thing I wanted to mention, and then I really want to get into Jedi Survivor, is George, you and I need to play, but I started getting back into Battlefield 3 on the PS3.
I am so distraught at both the Patriots and football in general, as someone who got sucked into 7 fantasy football teams this year, that Austin, I don't even want to watch football this Sunday. So I invite you, if you're available, let's just play Battlefield 3 all fucking day on Sunday.
Let's do it.
Are you available? Cool.
I should be
doing yard work on Saturday at my dad's house. I'm going to a costume contest for a Halloween party on Saturday. I will be extremely hungover on Sunday, and I will be available for Battlefield all day.
So, but I've been playing it just for fun. Like, I just booted it up because you and I had talked about playing it this past weekend. Things didn't work out. We'll make it happen. And the reason this is coming up is you had messaged that the servers are shutting down, and gosh, it's got to be like, what, 17 or 18 days now, right?
Yeah, so last year,
about 2 weeks.
This alert came out, and I went back and I got the Battlefield 2 Bad Company Platinum. And I did that in 3 weeks. I've been dragging my feet. We now have like 2.5 weeks, basically, until the Battlefield 3 server shut down. I'm trying to be optimistic, because like I had every other trophy in Battlefield Bad Company 2, except for the multiplayer. So I'm telling myself, dude, just focus on the multiplayer. Don't worry about single player. Do that after. You're going to be fine. You're good at single player games. You're good at shooters. It's going to be okay. So I vote we focus on the co-op this weekend. Get all those trophies. And then you help me set up for multiplayer. And there was on Battlefield Bad Company 2, I was able, like, this is going to sound so pathetic. I don't care. There was one multiplayer mode where I was just like playing by myself in the server. And I would just go through and I would blow up the MCOM stations, and then I would win the round, and then I would be defending, and then I would just do other random shit to pass the time, and then I'd go back and like, oh, we're tied at 1-1 in the rounds, and I go back and then I blow up the MCOM stations. So I'd do that, and then I would get like 1,000 XP per round, and then I only needed to do that if I had to guess 700 times to get to like the level cap that I needed for the trophy. I'm willing to do that again. It's fine. My time is worthless. The Earth is going to be uninhabitable in like 30 years. Like, we might as well enjoy it while we can. And I should get this trophy. It's going to be fine. I'm prepared to lose sleep over this.
So I hate to tell you this, George, but I think it's going to be a little more complicated with this one.
Fuck!
So, because I messed around with it over the weekend, it won't let you start a match unless you have like 7 other people in the game with you. So like, you're just in this practice area until other people show up, and it has to be 7 other people. So I don't know if you're going to be able to do it, to be honest.
That's some bullshit, and I hope they feel bad about it. Yeah. No, I don't know if someone died. No, that's horrible.
Oh my god. In the game, we're gonna kill them in the game.
No, but I hope they just sub the shit out of their toes. Like, just I hope they think like, oh, did the nail go in? Like, it didn't go in, but I hope they feel like the nail might have gone in when they stubbed their toe.
So just quickly though, I just wanted to say, I just booted it up just to be like, okay, I haven't played this game in like 10 years at least. You know, what does it play like on the PlayStation 3 in 2024? It plays like shit. It plays really bad. It's a buggy mess. Like, I was trying to jump over things and I couldn't, and it looks really bad. But dude, I can't put the game down. It's so good. It's so good. There's still people playing it. And I'm sure it's because the servers are shutting down, but you can still go online and access servers full of people still. In 2024, the game's been out for 14 years.
Austin, you gave me a very special Christmas present a few years ago where you got me a Return of the Jedi like frame cell. I have it up. I'm not going to move my camera because then my entire shit's going to fall apart. I have it up. Thank you so much for that gift. Can I make a request for my gift this year?
Sure.
Can you please help me get the Battlefield 5 Platinum Trophy?
Ooh. I like that.
4.
I like that because I've never played Battlefield 5. I didn't even touch it.
If we can play the campaign co-op together, I'd love to do that. I will play the multiplayer with you. There's one multiplayer trophy that is so mind-numbingly bullshit that I need a buddy to do it with, and no one else I know gives a shit about Battlefield. Where it's like you have to bomb an AA gun with a bomber. And I think because of Battlefield 2042, everyone's so distracted they're not playing Battlefield 5, and I think you and I can do it.
I think we can.
That's like that is easily the hardest trophy in the game, is just like bombing out an AA gun that's shooting at you.
I had Battlefield 5. I didn't touch it because it came out and people were saying it wasn't that great, and so the
multiplayer is really good. It's no Battlefield 1. That
Dude,
is
Battlefield 1 is the best. It's the best.
It's incredible. It's so good. Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to say that. But now it's time to go into this main topic here because I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk about it. Fair warning for anybody listening, we're going to be like absolutely spoiling just the living hell out of Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So if you haven't played that game, might be a good point to just stop listening for the rest of the show because this is going to be the last thing we're talking about here. But just be forewarned. So Coach and I think last episode we talked about this briefly, but Coach and I started playing the game simultaneously. George and Seth, I think Seth beat it like quickly after launch. George, were you like playing it right at launch? I can't remember.
I beat it within a month of it coming out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys both beat it pretty quick, but Coach and I had it at launch, wasn't a big fan of the way the game played, and so I put it down. But Coach, I don't even think you had ever touched it, right? You had never picked the game up until like the past month or whatever it's been?
No, because I was going to wait till it got all of its updates.
Patches, yeah.
So,
but Coach and I decided we were going to play through it simultaneously. That way we could talk about it. And I know we talked about this a little bit on the last episode, so I don't really want to go into like the technical things. I just really want to talk about the game itself and like the story and what we thought of it. But dude, I love this game. Love this game. It was such a surprise to me. I enjoyed Fallen Order, but not to this extent. This game was like a massive step up for me, and just in every way. I 100%. Thought the combat was far superior. If you go back and listen to those episodes where I was, a couple of years ago when I played through Fallen Order, one of my big complaints was the combat felt like it was trying to be Dark Souls, but couldn't. And some of the enemies just didn't feel fair when you were fighting them. They really changed that in this game to me. And I think all the stances, like the cross guard stance is god tier, like so fun to play with. And Coach, I know you use the cross guard too, but just from like a sheer gameplay perspective, it's one of the best games I've played in years, honestly.
And what I loved is like just going through and just doing the different stances, right? And just playing through them and realizing which one's stronger, which one isn't. I had certain ones for certain enemies just so I could, like, I love the two, Ahsoka, the Ahsoka stance, right? But then I also like Kylo Ren's because that was like taking two baseball bats to somebody, right? So, and just being able to strategize on how you want to level up your character as you get more and more into the game. It was pretty awesome. Like, for a Star Wars game, it was top tier, by far top tier.
Dude, I know you said you. Oh, go ahead, George.
I was gonna say, is this like in your top 3 favorite Star Wars games of all time, Coach? Because I know you play a lot of Star Wars games.
Yes, I would almost say it's the best one out there.
Okay.
Yeah, just because one, the story was so good, and to see Grease again, and the storyline with Seer, I knew what was gonna happen. Like when I'm like, okay, let's go, let's do this. And then, but she had a good fight with Vader. That was a good fight,
dude. That was a hard fight.
Yeah.
I got my ass kicked in that fight. I actually had to turn down the difficulty on that because I just could not beat him. I think I realized I was playing on whatever like the normal mode was, so I turned it down to Padawan, I think. Was what the one like that's easy technically.
Also, how much more fun is the game on Padawan?
Oh, it's great. I left it on that the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Same.
I started on like the hard one because I'm like, yeah, like fuck it, we ball, like ball up top, like let's just do this. And then like as the game progressed, I kept lowering the difficulty because I didn't think that the progression was actually that rewarding. Like even unlocking a new stance, I didn't feel like exceptionally more powerful. So I would like kind of like wait for like big story moments. Like I felt like a D&D, like a dungeon master almost, where I'm just like, yeah, like I'm not keeping stats, but like you leveled up, good job, buddy. And then like I would just like lower the difficulty throughout the game, and like that was like my progression almost. Where like I did feel 15 hours in the game, I'm like, yeah, stormtroopers shouldn't be like a pain in the dick. Like they really should be like cannon fodder at this point. And so like that was like my own like regulation that I was doing on the game that like felt good and right. And I totally forgot that I did that with the first game too. Was just like constantly monitor how much fun I'm having compared to the story and like what happened in the story and like how does this make sense for what I should be doing. And like I don't want to struggle. Oh, I see a jet trooper with 4 stormtroopers and a droid. Like, okay, at this point in the story, like this shouldn't be like difficult, but like you guys are kind of assholes with how you programmed everything. So I'm gonna lower the difficulty so this feels more fun and like more in line with what it should be.
And that's what it comes down to, just having fun, And let's see what else is that. The ending was really good, so it left off where okay, we got another story coming. So what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do with the little girl? Are the two of them gonna get together? Which I hope.
Yeah, Marin, dude, she's a great character. I wasn't like I didn't think she was that impressive in Fallen Order. I thought she was interesting, but I didn't think she was particularly well fleshed out. Personally. George, you disagree?
I thought she was immediately the most charming Star Wars character I'd seen in 15 years.
Interesting.
When she like had her little like baby turn in Fallen Order.
Yeah.
Where like he like won her over with like his argument and like his stance on like how the galaxy should be. I was immediately taken with her. I'm just like, fuck, she's cool. like I want to be that kind of person in this shitty galaxy.
Yeah.
And then seeing her in this, I thought they did a really good job of like keeping her true to how she was in the first game, but then like also having her be right even when Cal was wrong. Like I don't know how they did it. But like they did such a good job of like showing growth without making anyone be like a dick in this game.
Yeah.
Which I feel like 9 out of 10 times, like that's the easy way out, and they just didn't do it. I was very happy with, especially with Marin in this game.
And that one scene in the desert with both of them.
Oh, dude, where you're fighting
was
the big
on
droid.
Jeddah,
Yeah.
Amazing. And she like takes the potion thing or whatever, and then you start flying through her little portals with her. Just that whole sequence was phenomenal. Like so cinematic.
Have you guys gone back into the game since beating it?
No.
There's something so charming, like just being on Jeddah. Like if you get on like one of those like giant camels with like the 30-foot tall legs or whatever. Yeah, they're sick. But I don't know, like it's gonna sound so stupid. Just the way she like sits with you on that camel, I'm like, fuck, this is like the hottest thing that's ever happened in a game, you know? Like, and it's just her practicing like basic, like, I want to be with you, but we shouldn't be together right now. Like, you need to get your shit together. I need to get some things together, but I'm more together than you are. Like, it's just like her doing that. I'm just like, this is easily the most like sexual tension I've ever felt in a game. Just seeing them sit on a weird space camel together, you know?
So Coach brought up the ending. I am curious to see where they go with this, because depending on where this goes, I mean, I can't imagine the finale of this trilogy is going to have like a depressing ending. Like, I just don't foresee that happening. I mean, I guess they could pull a Rogue One. It's possible.
It's not that. It's just like all of a sudden there's something that didn't exist in the original trilogy. So like, is it going to stop existing to line up with the timeline of the original trilogy? Like that's
right.
That's why I think it's going to be a fucking downer.
So
I don't know.
I'm just curious. I mean, I could see it going either way, but I could, if they stick with it. I don't know if Disney and you know, Lucasfilm, if they're willing to do it. If they stick with it, it could have major plot implications for the future of Star Wars.
I haven't played it since last year. Did you guys see the Bodhi turn coming?
No, I didn't.
I did a little bit. Like, I always felt a little off with him. And
a little too perfect.
Yeah, and especially in the segment where I forget what the last thing you do with him. Oh, you go and get like the compass or whatever, and you kill Dagon. And we need to talk about Dagon in a minute. But you go and get the compass after you kill Dagon, and there's like this whole sequence where Bode is just standing around, and he's like just sitting there, and Cal's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, this is not going to go well." So that's where I really started to feel more confident in that.
That's interesting, because like I'm with Coach. I didn't see it coming either. And like, I don't know if it's because Star Wars has this incredible ability to disarm me and make me feel like the wonder I did when I was a child. You know, where I'm just like, oh, he said he can't do it, so he can't do it. But then all of a sudden, Luke does it. He lifts the, you know, like he does the thing that he said he couldn't do. Like, oh, he really tried hard, as opposed to like me as an adult analyzing it like objectively. I didn't see it coming. I really thought like Bodhi was just like earnest and sincere the entire time.
Yeah.
And then I thought they did a really good job justifying what he was doing and why he was doing it.
Bro.
He's a father with the kid. It's perfect. It's like so believable. It's great. It's like the Kratos effect, where like in God of War, the recent God of War is like Kratos is doing this horrible stuff, but it's because he cares about his son.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I love that. But what I will say this, what I did not see, I kind of foresaw him turning, but what I did not see is like the fight breaks out between the two of them, and then he uses the Force, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Good shit.
I lost it.
Yeah.
So that was the part where they may have expected people were. I think they kind of set it up, like I said, in that moment when you get the compass, where if you're really paying attention, I think you maybe could have inferred if you were cautious enough. But the Force situation.
That was also technically the second, I guess, third twist with him being a Force user. I didn't see that coming either. I was completely floored with that. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember a year plus when I was playing the game. Did you guys see Dagon turning when he came back? Because like it really seemed like Cal was so excited to have like an untainted by the Empire version of a Jedi. Like he thought he was getting like fucking pure cocaine Jedi, you know, like no ethanol, no cutters, no nothing, no Fenty, like. Yeah, he thought he was getting high on that Republic. And then all of a sudden, Dagon takes like 35 seconds looking at the galaxy. And then all of a sudden, his shit goes from green to like red so fast, you know? Did you see that twist coming?
I think I did, but I guess I don't know why. Maybe it was like in the trailers or something. I don't know.
I
I
don't
think
remember the
his
trailers.
voice, the way that he talked, like I think he was, I don't know, he had that persona that he could be a smooth bad guy,
The
right?
fact that he was one-armed in one of my favorite
Yeah,
movies
he
of
had
all
one arm.
time is The Fugitive, and it was the one-armed man. Yeah,
But
no,
the fight when he
Oh,
gets his
oh my
arm was like,
god.
it's like,
dude,
and then
just
they were fighting on
everything.
the ceiling.
Yeah, man, that whole fight is amazing. But everything where he's wielding two lightsabers with what when he doesn't have an arm, like eventually the arm shows up from the Force, but you see the saber flying through the air. I love it. What do you think, George?
I quick pause there, because I agree with you. That shit was rad. That was awesome. I feel like this is almost tying into my question about you playing Quantum Break, and I'm sorry you didn't play further. Did you get into any of the live action parts of Quantum Break?
I did. I did.
Okay.
I watched 2 of the episodes, I believe.
I feel like a lot of Quantum Break is like, oh hey, this is really cool as a video game, as a TV show, this idea sucks. I thought it was sick when Dagon was doing that with the lightsaber. I feel like if that shit happened in a Disney Plus TV show, the internet would literally
Yeah.
fucking Chernobyl itself. I don't know what it is where it's just seeing that in live action feels really off-putting to the, I don't even want to say true Star Wars fan, because I don't think the true Star Wars
No.
fans are the ones who are degrading every aspect of every show that's ever been made in the Disney era. But if that shit happened in The Acolyte, people would have lost their fucking minds. Agreed?
Yeah.
But it was so sick in the game.
It was sick as hell.
Yeah.
It was sick as hell. And when his arm appears with the Force arm that he's got in that fight, it's awesome.
Incredible.
Awesome.
And it's going so fast. You see it real quick, and you're like, you can't just stop and enjoy it. You got to keep fighting, right? But it was still it was a good moment, So
I don't love, there's a bunch of challenges throughout the game that are all platforming challenges. I gotta be honest, I'm so bad at those, but I feel like it shows a lot of there's one where you're out of time basically, and you're in space. You have to jump up. BB-8 has to take you on a zip line basically. And you have to jump across zip lines to avoid
I hated that one.
the coupling shit that's coming towards you that could stun you and then you die.
right.
And you have to get up. It's all a vertical challenge.
You gotta
of you
turn
on,
around
a zip line and turn around and avoid. There's a bunch of difficulty challenges like that, which is not unlike Astrobot, to be completely fair, right? But god damn, those are so hard. They kind of make me hate the platinum for the game, which everyone's like, oh, it's not that bad. I'm like, really? This seems pretty fucking bad. But the confidence of the developers to include that, this game, I thought, especially in the 3D worlds, the open worlds that they did, I'm not even talking about the challenges, I'm just talking about the open worlds. They really nailed movement in this game that they did not have down in the first game.
Right.
And I think that is probably why I just liked playing the game more. Everything about movement felt better in this game.
Yeah. The dash and
yeah.
all that. Yeah. I agree
So
with
I
you though. I did
remember-
that zipline thing, that same mission, and I took me forever. I hated that.
It took me an
challenge.
hour sitting down, and I was just
Yeah.
I hate everything about video games. Yeah.
I remember there's this level in Jedi Fallen Order where you had to swing from one vine and you to the next one, and then jump off and then jump to another vine, and it was clanky. The platforming was clanky in Fallen Order, but this one was just it was so much more smoother. I just didn't like the electricity ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that whole last section where you had to get to the top of the the ray, the antenna ray or whatever it was. There was a lot of good platforming on that.
Yeah.
It was cool too because you had all the ships and stuff flying by you as you're up there. It was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Really well designed.
I thought they did a really good job too of feeling nothing felt too difficult, but it didn't also feel like there were training wheels on. I'm thinking back to Fallen Order. that first level where you go to that planet that's like I can't remember what it's called. I'm really sorry, but it's like it's kind of like foggy and misty. It's like an Imperial base and kind of looks like Northern Ireland, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And like that felt like the like you're like you go bowling with like your 5-year-old cousin, 5-year-old niece or whatever, and like the bumpers are on. Like that level felt like the bumpers were on. And like this game, I thought did such a good job of introducing new elements, introducing confusing elements without making it feel like you're on rails. Like I think the difficulty spike in this game was great, and I say that as someone who, yes, admittedly lowered the difficulty for my own personal narrative reasons. Whatever, fuck you. But everything about this game, like the pacing, I guess, in terms of like mechanic introduction, I thought it felt like a professional ass video game in a way that the first one did not. The first one really feels like a proof of concept compared to the second one because it is such a leap. Like it really is the Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2.
I mean, it's massive. The worlds are like huge too by comparison. I mean, Kobo alone, Kobo's got to be the largest planet you go to. I mean, there's so much you can just go and explore there.
I assume so, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is right. My PS5 says that I played 50 hours of the game. I don't know if I believe that, but I think I at least played like a good 35, 40 hours. And I'm pretty sure Kobo, I'm still missing like 40% of, like it'll show like the completion for the planet. I think I'm only at 60% on Kobo. So
the platinum feels overwhelming. And like I want to get it because that game is like 150 gigs on my PlayStation 5. And like I still have it on my PlayStation 5. And like every once in a while I'm like, fired up, let me go find some things on Kobo. Let me go find some things in the weird battleship factory or whatever in orbit above Kobo. I can't remember the name of the planet.
That was an awesome, like seeing the Separatist battleship from episode 1 was phenomenal. Was just like, wow, that was.
And this game did something for you guys. This is the game that got you guys interested in the High Republic as a Star Wars era, right?
Well, I had already bought the books. It's just that once things got crazy here, not crazy, but once work started, I fell out of reading. I was probably about halfway through of the first one, but I have a lot of the books. I just gotta, now that Mace Windu over here. So
sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say, I bought Light of the Republic. Is that what it's, or no, Light of the Jedi? When it first came out, I think I bought it like within the week it came out and got a good bit of the way through it, but never finished it. And so I started again.
You said that
recently.
I all bought it the week it came out.
That.
I was reading it on my phone. I got like a third of the way through it. And like, I honestly think reading it on my phone is like why I wasn't interested.
Yeah. But I haven't sunk a ton of time into it because I've just been in like a gaming mood recently. I've really wanted to just play games. But I do plan on continuing it. I think I'm like 50 pages in. So, but I like it.
Can we talk about how cool the High Republic aesthetic is? Like, I don't think I'm the first person to say this, but the fact that like the original Star Wars is like the 60s, 70s version of the future, and then the High Republic is like the 30s, 40s version of the future. Like everything looks like it looks like Fritz Lang's Metropolis. Exactly. Yeah. Right. And just like, fuck, that is so smart and so cool to like, that's how you age the eras in Star Wars. Like, it's just everything about the game is brilliant on like an art design level that it's been a year and a half. Like I fire it up maybe once a month just to like jump back into it. And I'm still like, fuck, this looks so good. Everything about this is just so smartly designed from an art direction perspective. It's such a gorgeous game.
The art is really well done. And is her name Z, the robot?
Yeah.
Or is it Vic?
So, yeah.
I think it's Z. Her design is really cool too. I don't know. I really don't know much about the High Republic designs outside of this game because I've never really seen any of the comics or like anything else from that era. Of course, I've got the the book, but all that I have from that is the cover. So I really haven't looked too far into what things are supposed to look like from that era. And so this really introduced me to a lot of that. But her, like, even just the droid design is so fascinating to me. I mean, I found that character really interesting, just because of the way it's designed and looks compared to everything else in the world. And the same goes for like all the like meditation chambers that you go to that have all the High Republic stuff in them. And yeah, man, I said this in our chat when Coach and I first started playing. It's so smart to include High Republic in this game, something that not a ton of people have been exposed to at this point. And I know there's been some, hit and miss portions of the High Republic so far in the different mediums that it's been released in, but I found this so refreshing. Like, had this just been a normal Star Wars game, and like this was just, they were going into these chambers that were 20 years old or 30 years old or whatever it was, instead of 200 years old and High Republic era, I think it would have been a lot less interesting. I think the fact that they made High Republic such a key part of this game that's still set in, relatively a modern Star Wars period made it so much more intriguing.
Especially because, like, we've talked about this before, where like the Clone Wars era is like the most explained era of Star Wars at this point. Somehow, like, everything that happens between episodes 3 and 4 is just like, I mean, there's comics, there's technically movies at this point, there's books, there's everything. Like, it's such like a beaten to death era of Star Wars. And then to have like this game that takes place during them, but like really it's a High Republic game, right? Like, you're dealing with the fallout of decisions that were made 200 years ago, 300 years ago. It's like, yeah, fuck, that was smart, man. That was so slick to like make it about that. And the fact that like you think you're finding the answer in Dagon, like you think like, oh man, 300 years ago, it must have been so easy to be a Jedi 300 years ago. And then, like I said, immediately the guy is just completely distraught and broken and becomes like a fucking Sith on the fly. It's just like, oh man, like even when we thought they were better, like they really weren't better. And just like having that discussion, I think is so smart and so interesting for Star Wars.
I think if they can write it as well as this game, having the animated department go into the High Republic era would be, I think that would be amazing to see, because you'll read it. Great Storm. I want to know more about that Jedi. Like, he's super badass, right? And right now, like, Disney Star Wars, like, they're a mess. They're still a hot mess.
Acolyte was good. I don't care. I'll die on this fucking hill.
I'm not talking about Acolyte. I'm talking about Acolyte big screen. Good. I'm not talking about Acolyte.
Oh,
I'm talking about the big screen.
Big screen's a fucking mess. Yeah, I'll give you that.
So if they want to, I know they're like dialing back on the TV shows, both with Marvel and Star Wars, but definitely go animated department with some High Republic.
Coach, I asked Austin for a Christmas present this year of playing Battlefield 5 and helping me get the platinum, and me helping Austin get the platinum in that game. Can I ask a Christmas present from you this year?
Okay.
I have a very specific request. I want us to film a discussion on Black Friday. If you're available that day, your job is much more pressing than mine is. Do you think you're going to be available on Black Friday?
Yeah.
Can you and I have an Acolyte discussion on Black Friday?
Sure.
You can watch all of Acolyte by Black Friday?
I've already watched it.
You've already watched it? Okay, cool. I have to. I'm going to rewatch it. I might even rewatch it again. But can we have a discussion about Acolyte on Black Friday?
Yes, definitely.
Austin, you're invited to this too, but this is my Christmas present from Coach. So don't interfere too much.
Okay. Understood.
Definitely.
But please watch it and join the conversation.
So Acolyte, I really don't even know much about it. Is it technically High Republic?
It's like 100 years before Phantom Menace, so it's like the end of the High Republic.
Okay. Understood.
Like the one of the Jedi leaders in it She was a kid during the books.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Also, Ki-Adi-Mundi was just a young man during the Acolyte. No, he was still pretty fucking old. I don't know how long those tall-headed dudes live.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say the one last bit, because we didn't talk about him too much aside from his design. Dagon, the thing, and this came up too with Bode. You've got these two villains in this game, for lack of a better word. Antagonists is the better word. Both of them have such believable like backstories and reasons they're doing what they're doing. Even Dagon, like his whole situation of, you know, everything they did to him, and the reason he wants to go to Tanalor, like it's all so believable. He has like good reasons when you really think about it. And the just overall, I would say the writing in this game is super well fleshed out and well thought of, and it's not just like a normal Star Wars game. They really did a good job of setting it up as like a great storytelling experience. So I love it. I can't wait to see where they go, like I said, with the third game. I don't know when we'll get it, but hopefully
Well, it's a
soon.
AAA title, so 5 to 7 years.
Well, not just that, like Fallen Order came out 2019?
Did it?
I think so. And then Fallen Order came out, or Survivor came out 2023.
Let's see.
So 4 years. Yeah.
Jedi Fallen Order, yeah, it was 2019.
But how long did it take for them to really make it and to fix all of the issues, though?
That's a great point. Yeah.
Put another year on that, so 5 years. And I hope they just take the time and optimize it and make it top tier like what it is now. I played, like I said before, I know we said this last week, I played on the my Series S, and it was 1080p, and it was 30 frames per second, but a solid 30 frames per second. Like I had no issues whatsoever. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like when I try and go back and get the platinum on PS5, how amazing it will look.
It runs really well. There were only a couple times where I had like minor frame drops, and it was all when, you know, when you get on Kobo, that thing like with BD where you shoot out the like foam or whatever it is, and it catches on fire. It was always like when you're spraying that and it catches on fire, for some reason I think that was pretty graphically intensive, so it would start to chug a little bit there, but that was really the only time I had any frame rate issues.
Was it 1080p, or were you able to get it to 1440?
You know, I don't know what the performance mode runs on. I would bet it's 1080p.
Is that?
But I'm not positive. Yeah, I played on performance mode the whole time.
So you could be 60 frames per second. Okay.
Yeah. So
there wasn't that middle one like in Ratchet or Spider-Man.
No, it
Ratchet
was,
and Spider-Man had that middle mode where it had
performance
some
RT
ray tracing, and 60 frames per second.
Yeah, it was either quality or performance. And quality is still good. Like I think the 30 frames mode runs well and looks really good by comparison. Like the graphically it does look better on quality than performance, but that was a game where I really wanted the 60 frames for the combat, so but it was a good way to play.
And the Raiders were fun too to fight.
Yeah.
Those were good, like side side enemy, you know, besides the stormtroopers.
The final thing I'll bring up, and I just thought about this, was we haven't talked about Rick the radar technician. Where I don't even remember what planet you're on, but you're just like climbing up this thing, and this random stormtroopers like running up to you, and the boss like symbol shows up with the health bar. And it says Rick the radar technician, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you. And you run up to him and you just slice him in half in one hit, and his health bar goes away. I was not expecting that. I love the humor in this game.
Who is the bounty hunter you run into on Kobo? Like the weird looking guy, all due respect.
I forget his name.
High pitched voice, got like the two weird eyes.
I can't think of his name.
I don't know if it's a guy or it's a them. I guess that's what the word is for.
Okay, we'll go with them. Okay,
We'll go with that. Well, just like respectfully, like I don't know, like are they a frog? Like do they switch gender?
no, like the
Oh, are you talking about Turgle?
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 That is actually
Oh.
who I'm talking about. Yeah. It's like, yeah, are they like dinosaurs? They switch gender in like low gender situations where like, oh, I guess I need to be a boy now. I don't know. They were fucking great. And then like the fucking smoke show Australian bounty hunter chick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought you were talking about.
No, she is a babe. She is definitively a feminine, powerful woman.
So I didn't do that part where I went after bounties so much.
I didn't do it either.
Yeah, I will next time. Like when I
there's a really cool moment if you do.
Yeah. Okay.
The
that is one of like the Easter eggs of the games. Of the game is to do all the bounties, and then you get like this fucking sick cinematic. Honestly, if you guys are tired of playing this game, I totally understand it. Like, I know Austin, like you said, like, oh, I'm at like 50 hours. I don't see how it's there. It's like at least like 30 hours to beat the game, which in today's standards, like that's a long time to spend with a single game.
Yeah.
Look shit up on YouTube if you guys are like a little burnout. Like, don't push yourselves too far in this game because like you will fucking hate it the way I am going back trying to get the platinum. So if you're at a good spot and you don't mind not getting the platinum, like just let it go. Just look that up on YouTube. It's super fun.
Yeah. I think the exploration and like finding stuff was really fun. And there is a point where I don't even remember where I got it. I think it was on Kobo. You unlock like a thing that shows all the items on the map. And so you know where they all are. You just have to go find them and get them.
And they didn't have
the radar dome at the top. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is really helpful.
Yeah.
There are certain missions that unlock every type of something. And so it's like every collectible if you do this one mission on Kobo. Every Jedi challenge if you do this other type of mission on Kobo. Like it's shit like that.
The only thing I'll say though, which is why I'll probably do what you suggested, George, is just go look up some of this on YouTube, is because of all the little like nooks and crannies that you have to go through to find all this stuff. I just don't know. I don't know that I'm patient enough to go and spend like another, what I would assume is like at least another 20 hours with this game finding everything.
The map is better than the first game. It's admittedly better.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's great. Like honestly, after you beat the game, there should be like almost like a radar mode you can turn on where like it just shows you like on screen where you're supposed to go to do like certain things.
Or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Something like that, right? Like just to be like, okay, like I did everything. Like, can you it's literally the OCD in me is taking over. Can you help the OCD in me? Because like I did everything you wanted me to do as like a game player. Please fix this one part.
Right. So I'm sure I'll go back eventually, though. I mean, maybe whenever I get a PS5 Pro or something, I'm sure, because they have confirmed they're putting out a patch for the Pro, so I'm sure it'll look a lot better. Or maybe even before the third game comes out, I'll go back to it. So we shall see. But
Star Wars question: does this make you guys more interested in checking out Outlaws?
Actually, yes.
Like, does it like scratch the Star Wars bug in you guys at all?
For Outlaws, no.
For Bounty
Final
Hunter
Fantasy
remake,
3, yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Hell yeah.
Oh my god.
No, I mean, to be fair, Final Fantasy 2 really is like episode 4. Yeah.
It is. Final Fantasy 2
Iron
is
Dreadnought. Oh, what's that like? Yeah, totally.
No, I actually was like, man, this actually kind of makes me want to play Outlaws. I'm gonna wait till it's like $20, but
we're done talking Survivor at this point.
Yeah,
man, did you guys see that like Ubisoft disbanded the team that made the Lost Crown for
the Prince of Persia?
That company's like fucked. Like they have like no creative balls whatsoever. Like I think that company is like, I'd honestly be shocked if they weren't absorbed by someone else in the next 10 years, or if like they had to like license off a bunch of like their own properties. Like I wouldn't be shocked. That said, Star Wars Outlaws is like legitimately fun. It is legitimately entertaining. I also don't blame anyone who doesn't want to pay more than $40 for it. So if you see that game on sale for $40 or $30, It is absolutely worth it.
I'm sure it will be next
I can't
month.
speak to Series S, Coach, but if you can get it on PS5 or Series X, recommended. But like, man, what a fucking rudderless, directionless company that they're disbanding the team that made their like most highly
I was gonna
enjoyed game
say,
of the last 5 years.
it's like literally the
Unbelievable.
best game they've made in I don't even know how long.
At least half a decade, yeah.
So, and didn't they put out DLC for that game too? Like, it had a pretty decent lifespan.
Sure did, and literally the only problem was like, oh, did it meet sales expectations? Like, oh, your unrealistic expectations for how games were supposed to sell. We're supposed to take you seriously. All right.
Yeah, man.
They're getting slammed right now, and it didn't help that. I mean, what they did was good for Assassin's Creed by, delaying it for as long as they did, because I mean, Nintendo did that with with Tears of the Kingdom, right? So
They did that, and they canceled early access to that game.
yes, they just canceled it, I heard. So I don't know what's going on, man. Like they were putting out bangers back in the day.
They used to be my favorite publisher, man. Like, it used
Same.
to be like an unequivocal, like, oh, there's a new Ubisoft game. I trust them. I'm gonna grab this. Now, like, man, I bought Riders Republic just because I was like so hard up for like a BMX game or a snowboarding game. I'm like, wait, you're telling me that this is a BMX and a snowboarding game and a skiing game and like just an extreme sports games? Like, I miss that genre so much. Like, the one thing the N64 and PlayStation 1 and 2 taught me is that extreme sports games are fucking sick and that you should always have one in your rotation. And then Riders Republic is like legitimately awful. Like, that is just not an enjoyable game. And ever since then, I'm like, how did you fuck up a snowboarding game? Like, you're the only ones doing it, and you can't even make this fun. Like, how did you boff this so bad?
Remember Cool Borders?
Cool Borders was sick. 1080 was
Yep.
perfect. 1080 Avalanche was insane. SSX 1 through 3 is great. The remake on PS3 or the reboot on PS3, not very good, but like at least it was something.
It was okay.
It was fine. It didn't tap into like the optimism of the original trilogy, and like that optimism turns out really carries the game.
True.
And then also Rayman.
Yeah.
Rayman Origins was incredible. That was like the last great Ubisoft game was Rayman Origins, and
there's Origins
Rayman
right?
Legends. I didn't play Legends.
Legends.
I assume Legends was incredible. So like,
I just remember all of the little videos they would put out, the trailers, I guess, and it just looks so awesome, right? And you played it. It came out on the Wii U, and that was like one of the bigger games on Wii U.
It was a really good game.
Yeah, and then after that, it's just like it died. It's like go back and take that IP and do something with it,
It's sad to me how they've fallen off, because I agree, like that early 2010s, like from 2008 or so to like 2013, 14, they were killing it. I mean, they had so many good games in that time frame. And I mean, I know the newer Assassin's Creed games are good, but I can't. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not playing 100-hour long.
I mean, you'd love Mirage, but like,
yeah,
I guess I don't understand why like it's more valuable to a company to spend $20 million to make $100 million than it is for them to spend $5 million 4 times to make $100 million. You know what I mean? Like, you're spending the same amount of money and you're making the same amount of money, but it's more valuable for you to do one thing as opposed to doing 5 things. Where like, as fans, like, man, you put out like 5 AA games, like, people will fucking love you if they're even half decent. Like, just at this point, like, taking the swing is like the special thing. It's the important thing, and like no one seems interested in taking a swing anymore.
So I'm gonna ask you a question, George, before we wrap here. After your Far Cry 6 debacle that is well documented on the show, are you gonna play Far Cry 7 when it comes out?
Ongoing, and no, I'm gonna take like that. Like, I refuse to spend. I will, when that game is on sale for $20, I will buy Far Cry 7.
There you have it.
And it's not even like a quality of Ubisoft at this point. It's like, I am just so Far Cried out. Like, going from that game, and then I did play Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like, it's the same fucking game. Like, it's just like, oh, do this. Oh, watch out for this patrol. Oh, do that. And it's just like, oh, all the mechanics are just exactly the same. It doesn't matter the genre. It doesn't matter the perspective. It doesn't even matter the mechanics. It's this fundamentally the same game. So I need a break from Ubisoft. And like, honestly, the only game that breaks up from that, fucking Prince of Persia. Like, that was like the only game that was like, what if we didn't do it the way we do every other game? And
Well,
like,
that and the Mario games.
that game was great. The Rabbids, exactly. The things that are like wildly different and distant from the Ubisoft formula, those games are great, but everything else is just so content with like, well, this worked over here, it'll definitely work over here. It's like, no, you're actually being incredibly lazy and destroying multiple brands at the same time when you do this.
Well, if you go back and you watch the E3 presentation of their games from the early or the 2010s, right? The Assassin's Creeds, the Splinter Cells, you could tell like they were all about games back then, right? And now it doesn't feel that way. It's like, let's put this out and let's make some money, right? Like,
yeah,
they flirted with this last Assassin's Creed. What was it? The one that's in Iraq? Mirage. I mean, I had it and I returned it, but after, because I played a few hours of it, but I'll probably at some point go back to it. But they were onto something by going back to what got them where they were, and they need to start doing that. Just don't rush that out, tighten it up, and make it an experience that was like, oh man, I feel like I'm back in 2011, 2012 again, playing the Ezio trilogy,
Mm-hmm. That game was good too, because like it was the equivalent of like back when Madden used to feel like a arcade game. Now it's like they're trying to be like a sim, right? Like, they're trying to like put you in the shoes of what it's like to be an NFL quarterback. It's like, dude, there's not even like there might be 12 good quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Like, don't ask me to be the fucking 13th when I play this game. Like, I want to have fun. And so like Mirage is like the arcade Assassin's Creed experience to what I assume Shadows is like the sim experience, where it's like, here's like the super in-depth everything you need to know about being a perfect assassin. And then Mirage is like, just press square a bunch and you'll be fine. Like that was the equivalent. I'm 10 hours into Mirage and like, I'm probably not going to go back, but like I had way more fun with Mirage than I did with 20 hours in Valhalla.
Well, I'm glad you said something about Madden, because when I bought when I was able to buy the analog 3D, I went online I went to eBay to see how much. You remember NFL Blitz?
Sure do.
Arcade?
One of the best ones.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get
Coach, I also bought an analog 3D and I'm so
awesome.
fucking excited. Yeah.
Now my question is, if we'll be able to slide in a
memory card?
Yeah, for ROMs.
I have to assume someone will make a dongle, right, for like the controller port, like the way like you can connect like a USB stick to an Xbox through the controller port. I have to assume there's going to be a third party, at the very least, something like that.
Because all their systems have an SD card slot.
Oh, analogs do? Oh,
yeah,
all of them. And in that case, then yes, I think we'd absolutely be able to.
Because then I could play Ogre Battle, because that's like $150.
Well, shit, I bought that on my Wii U when the store was closing.
I did too. I got it too, bro.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
yes,
Coach, you've always fucking known what's up. That's what I love about you.
All right, guys. Well, let's wrap it up there. Anything else you guys want to add on?
Yeah, really quick. In the fourth quarter, with 9:54 left, the Celtics are up 121-91 on.
Would you look at that? Would you look at that?
30 points. 30 points.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening, and I suppose we'll be back at some point. Hopefully, it's next week, but
yeah,
I guess we'll just find out.
At the very least, we'll be back Black Friday to talk about the action.
Yeah, we'll be back at some point. So, thanks and goodbye.
Peace.
See you in another
Thanks
life,
for
brother.
listening to this episode of Frameskip. Don't forget you can find the show on social media at FrameSkipPod. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also follow us each individually on Twitter. George is at Shortbox Summary, Seth is at Seth the 90s Kid, and I, Austin Eller, am at Austin J. Eller on Twitter. If you've got a question, comment, or topic you'd like to hear discussed on the next episode of Frameskip, you can do so by submitting it to us on social media. Email us at frameskippodcast@gmail.com or visit bit.ly/frameskipq. That's bit.ly/frameskipq. The show is typically live on YouTube every week, either on Tuesday or Wednesday. You can find our YouTube channel at bit.ly/frameskiplive. Don't forget to subscribe and be notified when we do go live, typically at about 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.